Teaser.
Well, guys, now we're back on Facebook, so let's watch what we're saying
About other bands.
about other bands.
love
Yeah,
other bands.
right.
I didn't say nothing bad.
Oh.
about
All right,
no one.
all right, it's time. We're on.
Okay, we're
don't-
on.
Don't worry about the headphones if you don't want to use them. I got everything mixed nicely here.
Cool.
Okay.
I trust you, Tom.
Yo,
Oh,
John.
excellent! I can use this. I can use this little pen
that's
holder
cool.
as a stand.
It's a perfect stand.
It's perfect. Thank
I would.
goodness.
I'd like to welcome John Flansburgh and John Linnell to the
Hello.
studios here
Hi,
at
Tom.
WMSE. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks for having us. I feel like we've been hanging out for so long now. We're all, like old friends already.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, you guys have been great.
Keeping up the
in
charade.
studio.
Let's get
Yeah,
right
show
to it,
business.
man.
We're into
It's, it's great.
Into the
in-
We're all gonna die, man.
We're all pretty haggard
Admit it.
in this room right now.
Yeah. Show business is real.
The first thing I figured we should talk about is the current tour that's
Yes.
going on right now. How
Oh man, we can't talk about that.
how did the anniversary idea for Flood kind of solidify?
Like so many things in our career, there was really no plan at all. I think in the middle of last year, we had been off the road for 6 or 8 months, and like a lot of bands, that's kind of when the muffler starts dragging. And we thought, there was some inkling that there would be something happening in the middle of this year. But you're going to put the phone right under my face.
The most flattering
back
angle.
it up.
Yes, thanks.
you look nice.
But I mean, long story short, basically, we did a bunch of shows. We've done Flood shows over the years. We have the repertoire, is familiar to us. But we'd never really. We've always done it when it was the second night in the town or something like that,
Okay.
and just a way to kind of change it up for ourselves and
Yeah.
change it up for people who are coming back to a second show. But we just thought it's actually its 30th anniversary. It came out in January. We'll do some shows in New York that just kind of commemorate it, and everything just so when it was actually announced that they were Flood shows and it was this anniversary thing. It was such a bigger headline than I think we really thought it would be.
Yeah,
And it just sold out instantly, and
the whole tour pretty
everything. Yeah, and then it just was like this sort of avalanche of sellouts. I mean, it's what
Is that the next album?
yeah.
Good idea.
I guess the truth is we've been in this band, we've been touring in this band for over 30 years and touring regularly, and there's nothing unreliable. We're pretty reliable, and that is not very interesting in the world of touring bands. Because people, I mean, even on social media, will put up a show, sort of a regular show, and people will say oh, yeah, I can't go that day, so I guess I'll catch them next time, and it just makes you feel.
We should just do the ritual breaking up
Yeah.
and reforming
Something.
thing.
Yeah, scarcity is such a big part of
wait a
being-
bunch of years
yeah.
to tour and really crank up the prices.
Yeah.
Or just break up every 2 years.
Yeah.
Like sensible bands do.
Yeah. So this actually sort of,
Farewell tour.
it's weird to see what the actual effect has, as we've never really experienced it before, what the actual effect of scarcity can have on ticket demand, because this is these tickets, these shows we have 40 sold out shows. I mean, we're sold out till the winter.
Yeah, for a group, I mean, you guys tour every couple of years.
Right,
It's not
yeah.
like you never take this stuff on the road. That's pretty amazing. Too.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, listen, it's fun for us to play sold out shows. It's
Yeah.
I
Nice venues. Too.
would
mean,
lie
took
to
a
you
look
if I
at-
could.
I kind of, ran down the poster of your tour itinerary, and you guys are playing a lot of beautiful rooms across the country, too. It's,
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. So we get to play all these sort of posher places. It's some sit down places, but also the regular
so
discotheques.
I wanted to ask something specifically about my introduction to Flood. It was already, I have older siblings, and so the first couple albums were in the house when Flood came out.
Oh, wow.
The album was in the house. I was
You didn't
already
say you
familiar
had
with it.
cool siblings.
I have very cool siblings.
Yes.
But so I was already familiar with the record and with your band when I came home from school one day, turned on Tiny Toon Adventures, and was not prepared for this awesome episode of cartoon after school television that featured your music prominently with original music videos to complement the songs, and they chose 2 of your songs. I think the rest of the stuff they did on that episode, it was like an MTV parody with cartoon music videos, and most of the other stuff was like throwback type stuff, like 50s and 60s music, more kind of like novelty type stuff. I think like Yakety Yak and stuff like that. But then there's 2 tracks from Flood. It was Istanbul and Particle Man, I think.
That's right.
And so I'm seeing this on TV as a kid who's already familiar with the music, and it was just unbelievably exciting at the time.
It was just recently occurred to me like that there are still people who, because there's for any circle has a periphery that's like, if the circle is big, then the periphery is even bigger.
Right.
And there's still plenty of people who I think have this experience of feeling like they're the only ones who have ever heard of us. And I think I have often, and we've said this in the past, but it was just striking me recently again that is kind of the most essential good experience that you could have with our band, is like hearing something in some, on the radio or even in some oddball way, and thinking, I don't know what this is. I don't understand it, but I'm like mysteriously being dragged into it, and also that it makes no sense. Like when I think of like my favorite times of discovering something, it was something I couldn't work out what it was,
and that was part of the excitement.
And that was really what was drawing me further into it, And I mean, I had more of those experiences early on, I would say. But I'm always hoping to hear something like that again. That I don't know what this is, what's motivating it, or
Have you heard the composer from Brooklyn who has a vocal ensemble called Roomful of Teeth?
No.
Because what's interesting is, I mean, in the culture we live in right now, I mean, I don't know if it's just that Roomful of Teeth has infiltrated the 4 music supervisors of HBO, Netflix, and whatever. Yeah. But basically, when you hear like a beautiful, strange 21st century art music vocal piece on one of those on your premium cable network provider, it's Roomful of Teeth, and they do really cool stuff. But what's interesting to me is that I don't even need to check it now. It's just really, it's like oh yeah, because there's just not that much vocal music,
right?
And there's certainly not that much vocal music that's this progressive.
And
I invite everyone to check them out.
I feel like the internet and the smaller world, the interconnected world that we have lived in for a long time now, has kind of made those moments a little harder to come by and a little less special because of what you just described.
Yeah, you don't kind of stop in your tracks. Although I do have 2 distinct memories of stopping in my tracks, hearing songs. I was once moving another band's equipment in their El Camino across Manhattan, and I heard the song "We Built This City," and it was for the Jickets. Jickets were doing a gig, and we were playing with them, and I guess like no one in the band had a valid driver's license, but they had access to this car, so they asked me to help them drive it across. And it was like a total white elephant of a vehicle, like I really felt like king of the world. I'm by myself.
I remember those guys driving, so they may have just been.
I think they might have gotten bagged for not having. I think they were driving without a valid license.
Very possible.
I don't know why I was driving, but I was also I was alone. Wow. So I'm with their gear going across the town, and We Built a City came on. I'd never heard it, and I actually pulled the car over because I thought, I'm never going to hear this crazy song again.
Oh, yeah.
And this is such a mental song.
Having a religious moment with what turns out to be Starship.
Yeah. Well, I was familiar with Starship, but it actually didn't
scan.
It didn't really scan. It was just it's a total UFO. Yeah. And I was like, this is such a messed up, horrible song. And then the other thing was, when I was living in Atlanta, I heard "Oh Superman." On the radio,
and that was a real UFO when it came out.
And
it's hard to go back and hear it like it sounded then, because it was. I mean,
But I knew I sort of had a hunch that it was Laurie Anderson because I had heard about her,
right?
And I was actually listening. I thought there'd be like violins in it,
Right, because you've seen a picture of her
with a violin. Yeah.
Little did you know that it wasn't really a violin.
Yeah.
I had my experience like that was with the band Yellow Magic Orchestra.
Oh man!
And somebody played a whole side of Yellow Magic Orchestra, and so there was no talking. It was just one weird UFO after another. And again, I'm just like hanging in suspense, trying to figure out what this music is.
Yeah.
I first became familiar with Yellow Magic Orchestra. I was watching, I don't know if it was like, it wasn't Soul Train, but it was like a third-rate Soul Train that was on at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was probably like 20 years old, and I'm just watching reruns of bad TV, and then all of a sudden, Yellow Magic Orchestra performing live to like a bunch of disco dancers on television.
Really?
I'd never heard of them. I'd never heard their music. I had no idea what it was about. And I was just absolutely fell in love with them. I couldn't believe everything was just working right on the television. It was so perfect.
Well, it's funny. They used to really have oddball, even on like Don Kirshner's rock concert. They'd have like Sparks or somebody come on and perform, and you'd be like,
"How did you even find out about
what the hell is this?" Right.
There's a guy with a Hitler mustache on TV, and he appears to not be Hitler.
He looks very stern.
Yes.
If you're just tuning in, I'm joined in the studio live right now with They Might Be Giants. They are performing live at the Pabst Theater tonight. They are performing the album Flood in its entirety as part of the 30th anniversary of that album. And just to digress a little bit, when I mentioned seeing you guys on a cartoon show when I was a kid, one of the things that felt so exciting about that was that I was really used to being pandered to, with music that was included in stuff for kids at that time. It was such an age of
condescension.
Yeah, well, an age of condescension and just like relentless commercialism. You know what I mean? Shopping malls were extremely popular. Cable TV was just like really had like taken its grip on America, and it was just like everything was just trying to sell stuff to everybody, especially kids. It was kind of like the 50s all over again in that respect, and it was. Hearing your music that I was already kind of familiar with on a television program was really exciting for me because I knew that it was not crap. You know what I mean? It was contemporary, and it was a
right. I mean, that's
band.
Right. I mean, that's an interesting. I mean, sometimes you perceive things as being like it's like on. You can tell it's like on the right side of the culture war,
totally.
but it's not always that easy to tell. Sometimes I don't know.
Well, and also things can
context is important.
A lot of things can be interesting, as you've said, without being good. So there's things can be on the enemy's behind enemy lines and still be like, oh God, what like we built this city or something.
But I wondered when you guys realized that your music was popular with kids. Because it seems like it's become a big part of the
it started happening before we made a kids record, and that was one of the things that encouraged us to go ahead and do this first project, which was in 2000 we recorded that No album. Right. But before that we'd met parents who thought that we were appropriate to play for their kids, unlike other stuff in their record collection.
Sure.
So they thought, for whatever reason, they thought that their kids would like Particle Man, just maybe because it was not Marilyn Manson or whatever.
But something different, something that was recognizable maybe for the kids,
Yeah, but then there's a really adorable recording of some school children singing that song Particle Man, and then you start to realize, okay, there's some lyrics that seem kind of a little bit. Not really.
Although I think lyrics that kids might be able, probably can relate to pretty directly. I mean, kids are the ones, really getting into, beating
up.
Clobbering, cartoon violence was invented for children. Yeah. But I think, in a way to answer your question, like we have kind of, in the, sort of the most general sense, I think we have this kind of career dysmorphia, like professional dysmorphia about where we are in the culture. I think it's sort of too overwhelming for us to think about where we might fit in or should fit in, and we really just don't dwell on it very much. I mean, we kind of spend a lot of energy putting stuff out into the world, but we don't really judge it. We just kind of think like this is this is our job. This is we should get the music out, but like we don't really think like, oh, this part's effective to this audience or this speaks to
if
people.
we thought about what it meant, we'd probably realize we're making a mistake.
Yeah, well, I think that it's important to not overthink yourselves in that moment too. But it's cool to see that it comes full circle from, young people, kids, elementary school age kids or whatever, finding something exciting or different or whatever in your music, something that they can get into, and years or a decade later, you make music with that in mind, or you've made educational records too. And I know one of my sisters, both my sisters are educators, and one of them was teaching kindergarten in Chicago in the mid-late 90s, and was using as a teaching tool the sun is a mass of incandescent gas, to explain basically that whole complicated aspect to these young children. And it's just so effective, and then to see decade later or so, like, you're making music that's intended to be educational, that's just really cool.
Yeah. Was your sister at Francis Parker by any chance? No.
I don't think so. Honestly, I can't remember the name of the school.
I say that because my dad went to school there. I know it's a weirdo school. But,
then there's a good chance somebody from my family is involved in somewhere. What is it like? I know that you said that you have busted out Flood in its entirety and in pieces over the years as sort of maybe a second night thing or a fun alternate set list.
Well, we sorry, did you finish your question?
That's not a question, John.
Yeah, because I'm ready to talk.
I know that
the coffee is kicking in.
The original album is basically just the two of you guys with, a lot of help, obviously, but it's the two.
I wouldn't call it help.
And, it's a lot of intrusion.
Holding us back.
Yeah. But there's drum machines, there's synthesized aspects of it, and I know that you guys have had more of a set band.
Yeah.
For the
tragic band.
Exactly, the tragic band. Was it fun to kind of rework and rearrange those songs to be played on stage?
We've been playing most of that album in our repertoire.
Okay.
I think of all of our albums, that's one of the ones we play most of the material from already. So even when we're not doing a Flood show, we're doing like 3/4 of a Flood show. Don't tell anyone. But there's a lot of songs that we very rarely play on that record, and it's we had to tackle this problem early. As soon as we got a live band, we had to figure out how to do all this stuff that was created at in the laboratory. And make it into a live band sounding thing. And some of it we try and reproduce some of that, and then a lot of it we just go, well this is a live band, so we can't really just play a sample of what we played on the record, and
which is good. You don't want to go and just hear every sound, every sample that's on the record recreated.
Nobody wants that. Not, saying that that was our show originally. We just played a tape behind us, and sang over it, but for 10 years, but that was a fun show. People liked it.
Yeah, well, it's hard to, our original show, when we were playing with tapes, it did have a lot of yip yap in it, and people really enjoyed the yip yap.
That's what we figured out, at our probably second or third show, because the first time we played out, we hit play on the tape machine, and we didn't stop the tape until the end of the show. And I think it was just a little bit nervous, like we were, or I should say, a lot nervous.
Yeah,
we were scared that people wouldn't applaud, so we just did this hyperkinetic show that didn't allow anybody to talk, and we didn't really talk in between songs, and then we realized, it could be a little more relaxed than that. And now, of course, we have these very long digressions in our live show, and that's everybody's favorite part, apparently.
Well, it seems like you guys have had that type of a relationship with your audience from the very beginning. Just that, being a fan of They Might Be Giants, I feel like more so than with other bands, people just feel like they know you guys, you walked here in the studio, I've never met you before, and we're having a conversation within a minute, but
it's never like this, actually.
You're stabbing each other before you want to
exactly.
Real Kinks type situation.
Yeah, more of a Juliana Hatfield.
Well, there was a funny. The other day, somebody posted something on some social media where they were saying, and it was probably a kid. Now that I think of it, that they were like, "Are you John? are you and John still best friends?
Oh.
And I thought it was like such a sweet thing, and I was just sort of thinking like, well, I'm not sure if we were actually ever best friends, but like I didn't even know how to navigate the question because like the truth is like we completely do get along, but we're also like stuck in like very confined spaces for extraordinary periods of time.
Decades.
You know, it's like if you ever really want to figure out how to not get along with somebody, like spend your entire life with them in a really
actually that's what cosmonauts have said. Like, you know, if you ever allowed guns on the International Space Station, everyone was dead
right
immediately.
Right.
But yeah, no, I had this fantasy when I was 5 or 7 that the Beatles all lived in a house together, just like in
yeah. Where they all unlock the separate doors and walk in.
But it's all one big room. Yeah.
When I was like 8 or something, I remember it was right when people started getting busted for smoking pot, and I thought, I knew that the Beatles wouldn't smoke pot, but they might have friends who smoke pot, and it would be so unfair if like their friends were smoking pot and they got arrested.
That would be unfair.
Yeah, it was like I was really worried. I was thinking like if they were doing a rock concert, there'd be people at the rock concert smoking pot, and they might get arrested for what the pot smokers were doing, and then I grew up.
And Paul McCartney did get arrested.
That's right.
Yeah. Right. Years.
I think it was his pot.
Yeah, because someone else took all their pounds of marijuana and put it in his luggage. That was really tragic.
Yeah.
Poor Paul.
Why did Linda do that?
Yeah. Wow, and that's the first lull conversation.
Well, it's pledge time, people. And no, I'm just kidding.
Honestly, I mean, believe it or not, we've been at this for half an hour now.
Okay. Right. And no one's listening anymore.
Oh, is anyone listening?
There's 184 people live on Facebook right now.
All right.
Excellent.
That's nice.
There you go.
But what I was trying to get at with the conversational aspect of the concerts that people seem to love, it seems like, I don't know if it's the somewhat offbeat or humorous nature that your music has had over the years, but it just seems like when people are fans of your music, they just feel like they really identify with you as individuals, as is often the case, whether that's misguided or not on the part of the audience. But
yes. I don't know.
No, we're great guys. There's no doubt about it.
The Q&A type thing, it just seems like that's people just want to be in conversation with you in that moment.
It's really nice. It's probably not entirely true that we're not the most gregarious. I'm not the most gregarious.
But that just makes you even more mysterious, John.
But I think there is this idea, and you know what's the funny thing about that is well, in any case, we have not put our photos on our album art ever. There's a cute little drawing of us on the cover of our first album. But I think we kind of thought we wanted people to focus on what we're doing, and that we were not particularly interesting people, and it's obviously against the grain, because there are plenty of bands that are kind of, in some ways I feel a kinship with a lot of bands who make a point of having all their faces on the album art, and
their public image is part of what they're expressing, so it makes kind of like their face, their crazy fashion sense and all that stuff is sort of what they're
part of the package.
But I suppose on the other end of that, there are bands like the Residents who have had this whole absolute anonymous thing, and I can't think of any other bands that do that. But that also seemed very appealing.
All those prog rock bands are kind of like in that, are kind of faceless.
Klaatu, I guess.
Yeah. But even I guess they might have had their pictures on their albums, but the Genesis Yes type bands would tend to go for.
They're not sort of posing as
I'm not saying I like that music. I just want to be clear.
I'm saying I do.
But I'm just saying that was a pretty consistent thing with how those bands presented themselves. They kind of turned the attention in the other direction.
It was less of their. Yeah, Yes doesn't really have their images on the.
Yeah.
Or I guess maybe they started to.
Their first. I think when their first album is just like some weird photo, but they were just getting started.
But it was they wanted it to be more of maybe an intellectual appreciation of the music rather than look at our beautiful faces.
And they thought of the album cover as more of like an artistic thing rather than a sort of, maybe it was a sense of like, there are bands that are pop artists and they put their faces up front and center.
Right. It's sort of like the difference between the 60s and 70s. It's like, the Beatles and that idea. I think, you and I we're totally stuck in that. Mm-hmm. Because, like, the whole idea of how you work with advertising and how you work with your songs being placed in things, for a long time made us super uncomfortable. Yeah. We turned down all sorts of opportunities that would have been, like, just crazy money with no downside. Yeah. And we were just like... No, we're not interested in ever buying houses. Like when we got our first publishing deal, Charles from the Pixies did that movie. It was like called CB. It was called CB Radio or something. It was like about. It was starring the guy who's like the Bugsy Malone version of Jack Nicholson.
Now we're
I can't. My memory's shot, people. Yeah. But like it was called Citizen Band or something was the name of the movie, and like they wanted to use some of our songs in this thing, and I was just like, we got to see the movie. We can't just put our songs in a movie. And I saw the movie, and I'm like, this movie is so good. I don't want our songs in a movie. And of course, like nobody cares. And like Charles and the Pixies like took the licensing fee for that, and they all just made like a ton of money.
Right.
And it was no big thing. Like
nobody
ever thought twice about
integrity being compromised.
Yeah.
In there or whatever.
Yeah.
I think there was this sense that you could get identified as something. For example, that we were offered to submit a demo for the theme from Friends, the TV show Friends. Yeah. And again, Flans popped in the VHS.
In my genius.
And he looked at it, he was like, no, definitely not this.
I remember very specifically thinking, like, this is the most transparent ripoff of Seinfeld. It's like Seinfeld with pretty people.
It needs to be more nihilistic.
What a brainwave. Yeah, I thought it was really cynical, actually.
We would have made a bunch of money, definitely, but on the other hand, we would have been strongly identified with that show, and I'm not sure that would have benefited us in the incredibly long
John,
run.
all I can say is... No, I don't know.
It turns out that we've been doing this for a really long time, and there were many moments where we thought, we could cash in our chips and retire doing any number of like crazy sellout moves.
But you guys have done quite a bit of commercial work in the past.
We have
15 years
in the past.
Or more?
I would say 20 years.
Okay, yeah.
It was something like 20 years ago that we kind of decided.
As soon as we got off Elektra, all of a sudden the calls that Elektra was fielding, and of course my own interventions trying to protect our reputation from things that didn't matter. Like we started getting these calls directly, and it just somehow started seeming like a better idea.
Sure.
I think like I guess the Malcolm in the Middle theme was like sort of the first.
Oh God!
And
that's a huge one.
And the Daily Show. The first thing we really did, our lucky break was we did all this news music as part of a segment we were doing with Robert Krulwich was working for ABC TV doing the summer replacement show for Nightline.
Okay.
And it was all these science themed things. So if like Radiolab, it was sort of like a precursor of Radiolab. And we did all these video segments demonstrating like scientific principles on this science show. And I guess like John Williams had sort of priced himself out of doing incidental music for...
You're the next on the list.
Yeah, and it was like, right, it's like you're on the list, the bottom. But Johnny Williams is out, so we're going to use you guys.
Cool.
And so we just, we were like, did it. John did like some fantastic orchestral cues. And then the people from The Daily Show, which was just starting up...
When it was Craig Ferguson?
Yeah, it was Craig Ferguson. Yeah. They were looking through all these, kind of... pompous news programs composers, and they saw that we had done this thing, and they were like, "What?"
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So all of a sudden, like we got rolled into the Daily Show gig from
just
that
because of that summer replacement thing.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So and then it just sort of kept on going from there.
Although the Krulwich thing was a very PBS-y sounding soundtrack.
Okay.
And and what's funny is that the Daily Show wanted network news music, which we're perfectly aware, like, this costs roughly 100 times as much to make, and 100 times more than they were willing to pay us. So we'd submit a demo, and they were like, "This sounds like local news," and it's got
to be huge.
Yeah, much bigger, and we realized, like, wow, like normally you would get the John Williams and the 90-piece orchestra. That's how they do that. That's how, and we had to fake it, and somehow we slipped in through the cracks, but it was we were really
awesome.
We were faking it,
Yeah. Well, I could talk to you guys.
We could blab on
many
forever,
hours, but we should probably.
We got some stories. Thanks so much for having us.
Tom.
Thank you guys.
This is a blast.
So much. This is great.
We really appreciate you letting us filibuster here on your
all
station.
About it. That's one of the coolest things about. There are not a lot of radio stations like this left around that we can just kind of fly by the seat of our pants for a long time.
Do you have really is this show podcast?
It's archived.
Archived?
But it's archived through our website.
Right.
It is not. It's not a podcast.
You can't just stream it.
Yeah. Well, if you go to wmse.org, you can stream all the shows after they air, or live. But so you can listen to them live. Just whatever's on the radio at that moment. But then you can go back, and every show is archived as well. So.
Cool, fun.
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
Technology, I love it.
I do that more than you would ever imagine.
I don't go back and listen to my shows often, but I had Thurston Moore in here a few months ago, and that was just like, I think I listened to that one like 3 times.
Oh right,
Excellent.
He was a good interview.
Yeah,
that's
great. It was a good get.
I was thinking about his hearing the other day. I was thinking my hearing's shot, so his hearing must be out the window.
He's a soft-spoken guy.
Oh, really?
And he didn't have any kind of a hearing thing. And then his band came to town in December, and it's John Leidecker from Negative Land and Debbie Gooch from My Bloody Valentine and Pete Shelley from Sonic Youth, and they played something off Thurston's new album, and it was just a single piece of music with no vocals that they played for like close to an hour and a half. It was awesome.
Wow. Was it insanely loud?
Honestly, it wasn't. No, it was. It was pretty. It was varied. Really like crescendoed and built and stuff.
Have you seen Bob Mould's show recently? I was wondering if that was loud.
I would imagine, but he's also. I think I have heard that he's got hearing problems.
Yes. So. No, he definitely.
Yeah. He looks like Pete Townsend, so he must have hearing problems.
Right. Well, we worked with Tony Mamoni, who had been in Sugar, and he said that was the loudest band he'd ever been.
Yeah, man, Beaster.
And he was the loudest musician we ever worked with. And he was like, I'm not loud. You guys don't even know loud.
I'll tell you what loud is.
Okay, I'm gonna do one more song. Of Flood to take us out of here. And,
all right, and then we'll be back for more talking.
Just thanks again so much. I mean, you can hang out here for as long as you want.
We got to get to our sound check, I guess.
Okay, cool. Well,
but thanks again,
John. Thank you both so much.
Hey, thanks again. It was a blast.
And have a great show tonight.
We will.
Yay!
Woo! That was so fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Great.
Yeah.
That was great. It was just
I would imagine
the right amount of coffee consumption.
I think so.
For us, I
think so.
Keep the.
It wasn't like the Juliana Hatfield scenario.
Sorry, I should not.
Oh no, that was perfect because there was no context. So
I guess,
guys, this is going online.
Oh god,
there's still no context.